Suited for Success is perhaps the most girly episode that MLP has to offer. But even then, there is a great deal here that breaks through stereotypes and makes for an enjoyable episode. We had spent a little time with Rarity before, particularly during Look Before You Sleep. But this is the first time that we see Rarity hard at work in her natural element. The episode begins with Rarity and Opal Essence at the Carousel Boutique. This is actually the first time we see Rarity taking care of anyone or anything at her home, as we still haven't reached the point in the series where we have been shown that Sweetie Belle is part of Rarity's family. I like all of the facial expressions they come up with for Rarity, even in just this opening scene. Combined with Tabitha St. Germain's voice work, Rarity comes across as a rather unique character, even though many of us didn't see her that way at first. And this episode in particular shows us just how passionate she is about her craft. When Applejack and Twilight arrive at the boutique, Rarity is hard at work on her own dress for the gala. But even with the interruptions, Rarity is able to keep herself calm and polite for her guests. Twilight pulls out a simple dress that she wants to have mended for the gala, which Rarity is completely taken back with. She immediately offers her services in making a custom dress for Twilight, and it only took the slightest bit of opportunity for Rarity to want to create beauty for others. Which is an admirable trait for Rarity to have, honestly. For me, I believe this is the first moment in the series that shows a genuine generosity to Rarity's character. Even though we did see her cutting off her own tail in the second episode, the sacrifice doesn't seem quite as genuine as her actions during Suited for Success. Overall, I believe that this is the best representation of Rarity's generosity throughout the entire series. Although it takes some coaxing, Twilight gives in to Rarity, believing that she will make something that will look spectacular. And it doesn't take long for Rarity to want to make a dress for Applejack as well, considering that Applejack had been planning on attending the gala in just her old work duds. Then Rainbow Dash quite literally drops in, through the ceiling no less. And when Rarity says that she'll make Rainbow an outfit for the gala as well, Rainbow says, "Outfit for the what now?" This episode is really showing just how little the rest of the main six understand about a high society gathering like the gala. Now, I suppose it does make sense that both Applejack and Rainbow wouldn't think too much about fitting in with high society. But I'm rather curious about Twilight here. She's been living in Canterlot all her life. Had she never seen a high-class event before? Considering all the reading that she does, and especially how she seems to over-prepare whenever she gets a chance to be with Princess Celestia, wouldn't she be trying to figure out all the normal things going on with such a momentous event? Given Twilight's nature to want to understand nearly everything that goes on in the world, I would have thought that she would be better prepared. Rarity comes up with the idea to make dresses for all of her friends, and then put on a fashion show with her creations. And Applejack, being the wise pony she tends to be, is immediately concerned when she starts listing off all of the work that Rarity is putting on herself here. But Rarity isn't fazed by anything, at least not yet. Then we come to Art of the Dress, which is the second song in the series that had left quite the impression on me. Even though the music and the lyrics are quite remarkable, it becomes all the more impressive when you are watching all the animation and choreography that go with it. These moments in MLP show just how dedicated the staff really are in making a quality presentation. When the rest of the main six arrive to see how their dresses turned out, they really do seem excited. They really were trusting in Rarity to make something truly spectacular. But they are really taken back only a moment after they open their eyes. Rarity is especially excited about her creations, and even when she is talking about them, it really does seem like she intended to fit the style and colors of each dress to the pony it belongs to. But when each of the main six express their hesitations about the dresses, it only takes a few moments for Rarity to compose herself and offer to make each of the dresses specifically to what each of her friends had in mind. Which again shows just how dedicated she is to her generosity. Rarity's actions here remind me of how Applejack acted during Applebuck season. When each of them have made a promise, they are completely dedicated to it. So I suppose that Applejack and Rarity have more in common at the core of their characters than I had originally thought. But there is a bit of a difference between Applebuck season and Suited for Success. Applejack was determined to keep her promise, even when others were telling her that it is too much for her to bear. But with Rarity, she is determined to keep her promise even when all of her friends are making request after request for her services. But both of these characters still go through a moment of asking, what have I gotten myself into? When we see Fluttershy being less than willing to be honest on how she feels about her dress, it seems that she is trying to avoid any amount of conflict with Rarity. I don't know about you, but I've met people just like this. People who are willing to do things that they don't feel comfortable about just because they wish to avoid conflict. But when Rarity is being especially insistent, we hear Fluttershy being incredibly knowledgeable about sewing? Now this is certainly surprising. At what point in her life would Fluttershy have learned all these things about sewing? She rarely wears any clothing and spends the bulk of her time caring for animals. When we hear another verse for Art of the Dress, there is far more going on. More characters taking part in the singing, more detail on the animation, and we are seeing firsthand just how demanding the rest of the main six are being on Rarity. Right down to Rainbow coming up with perhaps her most quotable line in the entire series.
It needs to be about 20% cooler.
I am rather curious as to why Rarity seems to be in such a hurry here, though. She's working herself so hard to complete all of these modifications, why wouldn't she give herself more time? The only reason I can come up with would have to do with the fashion show. When Rarity had decided to make these dresses, she also wanted to boost her business by putting on a fashion show. Now, if she had actually made an announcement to the whole town that she was putting on a show even before she had made the dresses, then I can understand why she had wanted to complete them all so quickly. But she still manages to pull everything together in time, even though she looks so thoroughly exhausted from the work. And even though she says that these are the worst dresses that she has ever made, she still wants to please her friends, which I find both admirable and pitiful at the same time. Spike comes into the boutique saying that he had mentioned Rarity's fashion show to Hoity Toity, a bigwig fashion guru from Canterlot. And even with how stressed and overworked Rarity has been, she still holds on to the faint hope that somehow these dresses will impress. This is quite likely the first time that Rarity has been given the chance to impress one of the Canterlot elite, so I guess that her dream to make it big is taking precedence over her rational self. As the fashion show begins, we get a very, very brief glimpse of Vinyl Scratch, aka DJ Poem 3. I'm still rather surprised that this character has left so much impact on the Brony fandom despite having only a few seconds of screen time in the first season. But then again, with so very little to start with, I guess that people can decide however they wish on what kind of character they would like her to be. And her design certainly stands out from all the other ponies. The fact that we don't actually see the dresses until they are presented on stage makes for a great moment. And even in the designs that are supposed to be amateurish, the artists for MLP still create something memorable with each of the ponies here. Of course, the audience and Hoity Toity are less than impressed with Rarity's work, and only then do the rest of the main six understand just what they have done. So in the next scene, we get our first true freakout from Rarity. Throughout the series, there have been several mental breaks from the main six. And although I think that a couple of the others are a little more memorable, I gotta hand it to Tabitha when she can turn in such a wide range of emotions while still using a prim and proper tone of voice. It is a joy to watch each time I go through this episode. And of course, Pinky's lines are also really fun.
She'll become a crazy cat lady! She only has one cat. Give her time.
When Rarity sees that her friends had finished her dress on their own, she is really taken back. And Applejack actually says, thanks to Fluttershy's freaky knowledge of sewing. Which again, when did she learn about sewing? Even to the point of putting together Rarity's dress as if Rarity was actually doing the work. I suppose that makes for yet another tidbit of curiosity I have about Fluttershy's past. When Hoity Toity comes back for take 2 of the fashion show, we get the most impressive bits of art and animation of the whole episode. It really does catch your attention and draw you into the moment. The MLP staff really put their hearts into this scene, and we see yet another example of how passionate they are with this show. Suited for Success is a little unique due to the fact that we get 2 different lessons that both have a lot of real-life impact. And even though the lesson Rarity learns is worthwhile, I like Twilight's lesson a little more, about not being overly critical about something that is freely given. I know that a lot of us like to dissect MLP right down to its roots, trying to find things that don't add up. I myself do that quite a bit. But I hope that each of us will remember all of the great things about MLP, even when we are nitpicking. I try to find some positive aspects to every episode that I review, even in such cases where I seem to have a lot to gripe about. And I hope that you will remember to do so as well. MLP is still a great show, even in the moments where we find its flaws. What do you think? I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.